Okay, so this next story is it's called "The Breakfast That Never Dies," and we'll figure out what it's about, or we'll find out what it's about. But don't forget to like, subscribe afterwards. Give me some, I don't know, just give me some ideas on your feelings. Not so much on the quality of the story and all that stuff, but I'm more interested in sharing creative ideas in terms of the characters, their appearances, their behavior, so on and so forth, how it could change, and who knows, maybe we can make a movie out of this thing. Anyway, so your comments are going to be like super important. I know that light's annoying. Let me just turn this a little more. Sit over here, maybe. All right, here we go. The breakfast that never dies. Ignacio Bustamante woke up with the taste of stale whiskey and apricots on his breath. The cheap motel room smelled like cigarette smoke and sweat, and the blinking neon light from the motel outside made the walls pulse with sickly pink light. His head throbbed like a bad techno beat. He rubbed his temples, blinked hard, and forced himself up. Shit, he muttered, stumbling towards the bathroom. He splashed water on his face and stared at his reflection. Bloodshot eyes, wild black hair stuck to his forehead, and the faintest trace of grass stains across his cheek. Grass stains? How do I have grass stains on my face? He wondered. Then there was a knock at the door, and it startled him.
Ignacio,
A woman's voice hissed.
open up.
He cracked the door open and was nearly knocked over by Enkiruta Kawasaki, wearing a leather jacket, 2 sizes too big, and holding a brown paper bag. You look like hell, she said, sliding past him and plopping onto the sagging bed. Plopping, okay. Thanks, Ignacio muttered, still trying to figure out where the grass stains had come from. He sat down on the chair across from her, rubbing his temples. What the hell happened last night? And Kiruta pulled out a banana from the bag and started peeling it. Depends. Do you remember the full moon? Full moon? Yeah, the full moon. And the guy with the eggs. Eggs? Oh, wow. And Kiruta took a bite of the banana, shook her head. And shook her head. You really don't remember, do you? Ignacio sat back and tried to piece it together. Whiskey, dancing, a strange man at the bar, fried eggs on a little silver tray. The man had offered him one, and then, wait! It's all coming back to me. I remember the egg. And Kiruta nodded. Yeah, that's when the spasms started. Ignacio's heart skipped. What? You started convulsing, like full on demonic like a full on demonic possession. Then you screamed something about reversed seaweed and ran out of the bar. I had to chase your ass halfway across town. Reverse seaweed? I said that? That's what you kept yelling, and Karuta finished the banana and tossed the peel onto the nightstand. We need to talk about what happened after that. Ignacio rubbed his face, his hands shaking. He vaguely remembered the spasms, his muscles locking up, his mouth foaming. Then, a light, a voice. The memory was slippery, like smoke evading him. You know, you can't catch smoke, right? I mean, you can catch smoke. We're not talking about that. We're talking about actual smoke. You want some smoke? So then he said, what happened? You stopped shaking. Then you stood up and you quoted a strange phrase that I'd never heard before. You said, I have seen the future of breakfast. I said that? Yeah, and Kiruta said. She leaned forward on her elbows and on her knees. And you mentioned the word enkebalomancy. Encaballo what? I looked it up, and Karuta said, it's not a word. Ignacio shook his head. I don't even know what that means. Well, whatever it means, it scared the shit out of that guy with the eggs, she said. Ignacio's memory twitched. The man's face, pale, angular, with eyes like polished glass. He had smiled as Ignacio ate the egg, smiled like he knew something that Ignacio didn't. I need food, Ignacio muttered as he stood up. You sure about that? Yeah, my body feels like it's eating itself. Well, I've got you covered, Enkiruta said, and she reached into her handbag, pulling out a container of fried eggs and a bagel. Okay. The eggs glistened, the yolks almost too yellow. Ignacio's stomach growled painfully. He grabbed the eggs and stuffed a bite into his mouth. And that's when it happened. The flavor. Salty, buttery. Perfect. Just exploded in his mouth. A white-hot pulse shot down his spine, and his muscles seized. His vision blurred, and then a flash, a bright light, a voice, a shape. You have unlocked the secret. Ignacio screamed, dropping the eggs onto the floor. He staggered backward, clutching his head. The room pulsed with blinding light. He heard Enkiruta shouting, but her voice was like distant, Ignacio, like that. I'm imagining. It's up to your imagination too, but that's what I'm imagining. I saw it, he gasped. I saw the future of breakfast. What the hell are you talking about? It's Enkabalomancy. His hands were trembling. It's the power of breakfast. What the fuck does that even mean? It's the binding force, the thing that connects us. Eggs, bananas, butter, bagels. They've been trying to tell us something for centuries. And Karuta stepped back, her face pale. Dude, you've lost it. Ignacio crouched, clutching his knees. His breathing was ragged. No, it's real. It's why the spasm started. It's why I screamed about reverse seaweed. You're talking like you're possessed, dude. No, Ignacio said. His eyes were wide. I was chosen. Chosen by who? Chosen by the breakfast gods. Ignacio's eyes were wild. It's all connected, don't you see? Eggs, bananas, butter, bagels, seaweed. They were waiting for someone to see the pattern. Okay, you need to sit down. And the full moon, that's when the gate opens. And Karuta backed toward the door. You're scaring me, man. Ignacio stumbled towards her, clutching her arm. No, you don't understand. This could change everything. Breakfast isn't food. It's a system. Let me go, she said. But you have to believe me. Why the hell would I believe you? Because I can prove it. Ignacio rushed to the table and grabbed the remaining fried egg. He lifted it above his head. No, don't, she said. He stuffed the egg into his mouth. His eyes rolled back in his head, and his body started shaking violently. Ignacio, what's happening? And then he stopped. His eyes snapped open, and his voice came out low, deep and low. The Enkabalomancy is complete. And Karuta stepped back, pale. Her face now was pale. Ignacio? He looked at her, his face blank, empty. Then he reached down, grabbed the banana peel, and held it up like a religious relic. All this time, he whispered, they were hiding it from us. Hiding what? The final piece. His hands were trembling. Butter, bananas, eggs, bagels. He grinned wildly. Those are the 4 keys. Man, you've lost your damn mind. No, I found it. There was a loud knock at the door. 3 sharp raps. Ignacio's face went white. What's that? Enkiruta whispered. No, who's that? Not what. Who's that? Enkiruta whispered. Ignacio swallowed hard. I think it's them. You mean the breakfast gods? Another knock. Harder this time. Ignacio stepped toward the door. His hand hovered over the knob. I have to know, he said. Ignacio, don't. He opened the door, and standing there was the man from the bar holding a silver tray of eggs. Oh my God. Like he knew where he was staying? Anyway, hello, Ignacio. The man smiled. We've been expecting you. The man lifted the tray. It's time for the final breakfast. Ignacio's breath. Ignacio caught his breath. He was out of breath, I guess. What happens if I eat it? You ascend. And if I don't? The man's smile widened. You rot in spiritual depression for eternity. Ignacio took a step back, eyes flicking to Enkiruta. She shook her head violently. Don't, she whispered. You actually might enjoy spiritual depression. Ignacio's mouth twitched. His eyes darkened. He reached for the egg. And then Ignacio grabbed the tray, threw it to the ground, and stomped on the eggs. Fuck your breakfast. The man's smile vanished. What have you done? I've broken the cycle. Ignacio grinned. No more breakfast, ever. The room began to shake. The man screamed, and Kiruta grabbed Ignacio's arm. You just ended breakfast, she said breathlessly. Yeah, Ignacio said, grinning. Let's see what happens next. So, before I continue, I have to read a little something from today's sponsor. It's a company called TrashFlix. Welcome to TrashFlix, the bottom tier of streaming. Tired of good movies? Sick of solid TV shows? Bored of professional acting? Then get ready for TrashFlix, the world's worst streaming platform, where mediocrity isn't just a vibe, it's a lifestyle. What does TrashFlix bring to the table? Movies so bad you'll think your Wi-Fi is broken. Ever seen a rom-com where the couple never actually meets? You will now. I mean, who needs coherent plots or endings anyway? How about actors who could barely get cast in a high school play? What a show. Camera work that screams someone's dad filmed this on an iPhone 4. How about that? And yes, it's always shaky. So if you get motion sickness, I guess, be aware. Audio is so trash you'll spend half the movie wondering if the mic was inside a sock. Don't just take our word for it. Check out these actual reviews. It's like they filmed this in one take and said, good enough. Yo, this show made me mad. Like, why does it even exist? This app is proof that not everything needs to be streamed. And lastly, I lost brain cells watching this, but I couldn't look away. 5 stars. So that's not bad, 25% positive. Why TrashFlix? Because Netflix is overrated, because Hulu is trying too hard, because Disney Plus doesn't have a 7-hour movie about haunted bagels. If you want to laugh, cry, and scream, 7-hour movie, that's funny. If you want to laugh, cry, and scream, why am I still watching this? TrashFlix has your back. Download the TrashFlix app today. You won't regret it. Unless you do. TrashFlix, where bad taste meets the worst experience possible. Contact John Luigi Art for more details. Now, do not contact me about that product or that company. It doesn't seem like something I would be interested in, nor is it something that I want to endorse. Now, let's get back to our story. The man's scream became high-pitched. So where did we leave off? Okay, he stomped on the eggs. Okay. The man's scream became a high-pitched wail, his face warping as cracks spidered across his skin. Light poured from his mouth and eyes, and his body trembled like it was being torn apart at the seams. You fool, the man howled. You've shattered the balance. Ignacio stepped back. his chest heaving. His heart thundered in his ears. The room vibrated violently, the walls flickering between reality and something else. Shapes and symbols twisted and shimmered beneath the surface of the paint. That's interesting. Like curling like snake like tongues. Tss, right? You don't understand what you've done, the man hissed, his body unraveling, skin peeling into sheets that evaporated into smoke. Imagine that. Breakfast was the anchor. Without it, boom! The man exploded into 1,000 black fragments. The wall stopped vibrating. Silence settled like a death shroud. And Kiruta and Ignacio stared at the empty doorway. A faint trace of sulfur and fried eggs lingered in the air. What the... And Kiruta's voice trailed off. What the hell just happened? Ignacio stood proudly. His hands were shaking. I... I think I ended breakfast. You fucking what? Ignacio staggered back toward the bed and dropped onto it. His eyes were wide, pupils blown out. Boom! I broke the cycle, he said, his voice hollow. Eggs, butter, bananas, bagels. The 4 keys, the foundation of breakfast. I crushed the egg. Yeah, I saw that, Enkiruta said, sitting down on the hard floor. But what does that mean? Ignacio shook his head. I don't know. Suddenly, a deep, low hum rumbled beneath the floorboards, and Kiruta bolted upright. What was that? Ignacio's eyes widened. He ran to the window. Outside, the world was changing. The diner across the street blinked in and out of existence. The breakfast special sign above the window twisted and distorted, the letters melting. Pedestrians stumbled, clutching their stomachs as if they were starving. An old woman screamed and collapsed to the ground. Ignacio! What have I done? He said. Breakfast was holding the world together. What the hell are you talking about? This is not the time for self-analysis. Ignacio turned to her, his face pale. He seems to get pale a lot. Breakfast was the first meal, the foundation of human civilization. It anchored reality. That's insane, she said. No, Ignacio said, it's true. Agriculture began because of breakfast. Grains for bread, chicken for eggs, dairy for butter. It's all connected. So you're saying the universe runs on eggs and bagels? Ignacio ran a trembling hand through his hair. Yes. And Kiruta's mouth opened and closed. You really have lost it. Outside, the street warped. Buildings folded inward. A crack spread across the sky. A sound followed, a low, resonant thrum, like the earth was groaning. Oh my God, Inkiruta said. The sky's breaking. Ignacio stumbled towards the door. We need to fix this. But how? Ignacio's eyes were wild. We have to recreate breakfast. But you just said you ended it. How are we going to do this? Ignacio grabbed her by the shoulders. I destroyed the foundation, but maybe we can rebuild it. A new breakfast. Now, how the fuck are we supposed to do that? We need the ingredients, the core ingredients. And Kiruta's eyes narrowed. Eggs, butter, bananas, and bagels. Ignacio nodded. And reversed seaweed. Reversed what? You heard me. Ignacio grabbed his jacket. We have to rebuild breakfast from scratch, but we need all the keys. And Kiruta rubbed her face. Where the hell are we supposed to find reverse seaweed? I know a guy, Ignacio said. They ran down the street and burst into the back of a rundown sushi restaurant on 14th Street. A short man with thin frame glasses and a greasy apron stood behind the counter, slicing into a glistening slab of tuna. Kenta? Ignacio said. The man looked up. No. I know you're Kenta. Please give me a minute. Don't brush me off. You haven't even heard what I need yet. Kenta sighed, set down the knife, and wiped his hands. You have the look of a man who has disturbed the breakfast balance. I have no interest in being involved. Ignacio stepped toward the counter. But you're the only one who can source reverse seaweed. Kenta's eyes shot to him. Reverse seaweed is forbidden. There's a reason for that. But please, the universe is collapsing. Kenta's face tightened. He pulled a thin cigarette from behind his ear and lit it. Fuck. You sure you want to do this? Do I look like I have a choice? Kenta opened a drawer beneath the counter and pulled out a small glass jar filled with dark green, almost black strips of seaweed. They seemed to ripple, curl, and uncurl on their own like they were alive. The seaweed was part of the original breakfast equation, Kenta said, but it was locked away because it corrupted the balance. Ignacio grabbed a jar. We're out of options. Kenta exhaled, all the smoke. If you fail, I know, the world ends. Kenta nodded. Good luck. 10 minutes later, they sat on the floor of Ignacio's motel room again. The world outside was shaking, distorting. Trees turned to stone. Cars melted into rivers of metal. The sky pulsed an unnatural shade of green. Ignacio laid out all the ingredients carefully on the floor. A fried egg, a slice of buttered bagel, a peeled banana, a strip of reversed seaweed. Ignacio, Enkiduta said, this is insane. Trust me on this. Ignacio knelt over the ingredients. Breakfast isn't just food, it's a ritual, a spell. A spell? He picked up the reverse seaweed. Ancient humans thought breakfast was about nourishment, but it wasn't. He wrapped the seaweed around the banana, then laid it across the bagel. He placed the fried egg on top. Breakfast was a summoning ritual. And Kiruta stepped back. Summoning what? Ignacio said. Balance. The air changed. A low hum filled the room. The breakfast began to glow. The yolk pulsed like a beating heart. Boom, 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 boom. And then the egg opened. A beam of white light shot from the center. The sky outside split. The trembling stopped. A massive figure formed in the light. A humanoid but faceless, shimmering and translucent. Its mouth open, and a sound like the collective ringing of a billion forks against ceramic plates filled the air. Breakfast, the figure's voice boomed. Ignacio stared up at it, his knees shaking. We broke the balance. Yes, you did. But we can restore it, he said. The figure's head lowered. Are you prepared to pay the price? Ignacio's mouth twitched. What price? You must choose. Restore breakfast or consume it forever. Ignacio's eyes opened wide. If we restore it, balance returns, peace, structure. And if we consume it, the figure's voice dropped low. You become the god of breakfast. It's a lot of responsibility, I would imagine. The figure's voice dropped low. You become the god of breakfast. Ignacio's hands curled into fists. He glanced at Enkiduta. Her eyes were hard. Her eyes were hard? Oh, she was staring at him hard, I guess intensely. You know what you have to do. Ignacio turned towards a glowing breakfast. His mouth watered. His fingers trembled. Fuck the balance. Ignacio picked up the breakfast and stuffed it into his mouth. Light exploded outward. Enkiduta screamed, and Ignacio's body ascended. His form stretched, twisted. His muscles expanded. His hair turned golden. When the light faded, Ignacio stood before them, wearing a crown of scrambled eggs with a cape of buttered toast. His eyes burned with yolk-colored fire. I am the Breakfast King. And Kiruta's mouth dropped open. Oh, damn. Ignacio smiled. It's brunch time. The end. Anyway, hope you enjoyed this intense story. I know a lot went on there, but let me know what you think. Like, subscribe, comment on the story. Let's hear about these characters, what they may or may not look like, and all that good stuff. Let's have creative conversation, and you never know where this can go. Have a great day.
what I got.